Adam Copeland, John Dickinson along shortly. Tough one at Lambeau Field. 49ers fall 38-10 at the hands of the Green Bay Packers. And while some people may not be surprised, and while Greg Papa said Brendan Allen played well enough to win, I would take a little bit of exception with that. I think they played well enough to have opportunities to keep themselves in the game and then did not play a disciplined, clean, unsloppy. I mean, put whatever tag on it you want at 808 KMBR. 415-808-5627. We're here for you on a Sunday night. Niners fall 38-10 to the Packers. No Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa, no Trent Williams. Brandon Allen, a fairly sloppy game. Again, his first start in 3 years, and nobody's going to make excuses for you. But I think a lot of 49er fans will have questions about where the 49ers go with that position if, in fact, Brock Purdy has to miss more time and Josh Dobbs is sitting there on the roster. I understand the move, of course. Late in the week, you find out. And again, Tim Ryan told us, we've heard about it all week, and Kyle Shanahan spoke to us on our show on Thursday saying they were hopeful and they thought Brock Purdy may, in fact, be able to go. But on Friday had to rule him out after apparently 2 MRIs, according to Jay Glazer of Fox Sports this morning, that Brock Purdy was not going to be able to go, and they were concerned enough to do a second MRI just to make sure nothing was wrong. So week to week with that. But in terms of this one, 17-29, 199, a touchdown and an interception. And I think everybody agrees probably could have been one more for sure on that second drive, maybe 2 more. Niners had a tough time moving the ball in this one, and maybe even more to the point, had an extremely difficult time stopping the run. You know that they're going to run the ball. One of the top 10 run teams per percentage in the NFL. They're a top 15 team or top 10 team in terms of yards per carry. Niners coming into the game at 5 yards per carry on the season. The Packers at 4.9 yards per carry. And Josh Jacobs, when they run it up the middle, when they run between the tackles there, 5.5, that was third best in the league. He gassed the Niners. 3 touchdowns on the ground, 26 attempts for 106 yards. He went for 4-1 a carry. And we saw this happen earlier in the year. 49ers lost the game to the Kansas City Chiefs, which before this you'd probably mark down as the worst loss of the season. Not feel-wise necessarily, but in terms of how you executed the game plan, how you were able to face a tough defense. This was not a tough defense. And again, while they were facing an uphill battle here, without Nick Bosa, without Trent Williams, and without Brock Purdy, the Niners, all in all, for a team that you were hoping was gonna bow up for a very tough game and rally behind some of their guys, really got nothing from nowhere. 38-10 the final. John Dickinson is live with us from Lambeau Field. What's up, JD? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, Copes? Yeah, man, all systems fail early. Couldn't move the ball on their first 2 possessions, and we talked about it on the pregame, and you just mentioned it. The Packers were going to run some more, and if you've been paying attention to the 49ers here this season, they have not been able to stop the run, even against teams that don't run it effectively. The Packers do run it effectively. You know Matt LaFleur is a lot like Kyle Shanahan in terms of his philosophy. When you see a vulnerability, you want to attack it and crush it. And that's exactly what the Packers did. And I thought, we can look back at, and we will, the fact that the 49ers were still in the game at halftime and even early in the third quarter to midway through the third quarter, but they lost this game point blank, those first 3 possessions of the ball game where the Packers go touchdown, field goal, touchdown, and then the 49ers are unable to be able to move the football 3 and out, and it's 17-0 right there. You give them credit for late in the half and being able to score and opportunities in the second half and all of that, but this game was essentially, when you look back on it, decided by those first 3 Packers possessions in the 2 Niner 3-and-outs.
415-808-KMBR, 808-5627 is the number to call. And what I'm looking for is, what would you label this 49er team? What would you label this game, how things went wrong? I mean, there are a bevy of things you can pick from. And I think maybe the most frustrating, and maybe it's because of Kyle's reaction to it, I mean, I sent out a tweet, I think, right after the second one happened. It's maybe the most undisciplined first half we've seen from a 49er team since year 1 of the Kyle Shanahan era. And I almost give that first year a pass. He came in like a college coach looking to revamp the system, overhaul the roster, and he got a bunch of guys in. Hell, Kyle Juszczyk, one of the first signings, still on the roster. They didn't pick up a first down until late in the second half, and it was, 5.5 minutes left, 5 minutes left or something in the game when Juszczyk, in the first half, when Juszczyk picks up the first down. They had 6 total yards on their first 2 drives on 3-and-outs. It was sloppy, and again, you got to give Brandon Allen a little bit of rope, I think, on that first drive, maybe the second one, but he drops that ball or gets it knocked out, and it just looked like he was out of whack. Tom Brady was talking about it on the broadcast, the spatial awareness. They just look like a team that was, I mean, today is the worst I think the Niners have looked all season. Not just because they lost 38-10. I don't even think they look quite as bad against the Chiefs. Sure, you have more of your players, but top to bottom, this was a sloppy, messy, all phases of the game mess.
Yeah, it really was. And look, I don't put today on Allen. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I put today on the defense getting absolutely annihilated. Like if this team was going to have a chance in this game, it was going to be on the defense to force turnovers and be able to prove that they could be stout against the run and keep a team that had a backup quarterback starting in the game long enough for him to hopefully get into some kind of a rhythm. Now, you want him to get into a rhythm before the final 5 minutes of quarter number 2, but again, it was the uphill climb. The uphill climb was not going to be the formula for success for the 49ers to win this game. So, yeah, Allen did get in a little bit of rhythm late in the first half. Came out, looked like maybe there was some action. He was kind of slinging it. Had to throw to Kittle there in the third quarter.
Yeah, the throw to Kittle was. What's funny is Kittle's so incredible. I didn't know that when the ball was thrown, Kittle's head was obviously not turned. He turned around and the ball showed up and he caught it right on his hip there and went down. He had a couple of incredible plays. He's without a doubt. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's legacy comes with him, of course, but George Kittle is without a doubt the best player on the team right now.
Yeah, he was spectacular today. I mean, you look at his numbers. I mean, 6 catches for 82 yards on 6 targets. So when they had time and Allen could find him, it was there, and they had a real good connection. I mean, that was one of the things I was kind of wondering that we didn't really talk about in the pregame is whenever you have a new quarterback, who are going to be that guy's favorite targets and who is he most comfortable with? And you look at Brandon Allen, he was clearly comfortable with George Kittle in a big way. And for a decent chunk of the end of the second quarter, first half of maybe the third quarter, it looked like there was actually a path for the 49ers to win the game, which is insane considering how much they got dominated in the first, let's say, 25 minutes of the half.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. JD is live from Lambeau Field where the 49ers fell to the Packers 38-10. If you're looking for any silver lining, 49er fans, Seahawks beat the Arizona Cardinals today.
Gino.
How about Gino?
Owns them.
Yeah.
Owns the Cardinals.
All of a sudden, I didn't see him do that. Did he do the sleepy? Did he put him to bed? Because somehow I feel like it hurt more last week. How about this? The stat of the game is sponsored by Poppy Bank, located throughout California. Poppy Bank is here to help you hit your financial goals. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. There are a lot you can go with. I'll drop this one on you. And it's I don't mean to call the guy out. I think he's been one of the best rookies, and I think they deserve some credit for the rookie draft class that they have in there right now. But we should point this out, too. And Matt Barrows did before the game. Of all the players on defense who started in the divisional game against the Packers last January, 2 of them started today, Demo Lenore and Fred Warner. You got a lot of youngsters out there, Malik Mustafa. You've got no Charvarius Ward right now. It's a much different crew on defense. On the offensive side, Dominic Pooney has been fantastic. In the first half, 3 false start penalties, and all 3 in crucial situations. I'll give you that as a stat of the game. He had 1 penalty called against him all season. I don't want to come down on the guy, but the penalties in general today for the 49ers were disastrous. 9 for 77 is what got the 49ers. I'm frustrated about the holding penalty on who was it, Saubert, on the kick return.
Yeah.
You're frustrated about the back-to-back 12-men on the field penalties. I mean, maybe as irate as you've ever seen Kyle Shanahan. But again, one of the most undisciplined games and halves I think you've seen from the 49ers. 44 rushing yards on 16 rushing attempts. I don't know if they've had a worse rushing game. Maybe that game against Green Bay in COVID, where you had a Richie James out there and River Craycraft, and they were, it was a mess. But in terms of just putting together something against this Packer team, I'm not really sure that Brock Purdy would have made much of a difference, man.
No, I mean, maybe you get off to a little bit better start offensively and you're able to be in a little more rhythm in those first couple of possessions, which would have made a difference if the game had settled in the manner that it did toward the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. But, yeah, 3 penalties specifically for Dominic Pooney, and that's just something that can't happen. And, I asked him about it in the locker room postgame before I headed up here to get going on the show, and he flat out said, I got to be better. Can't happen. Hard to win a football game when one guy has 3 penalties. So as much as he's had a good beginning to his career, as the season has gone on, he has struggled more and more. And, accountability is one thing, but I think, the offensive line for the 49ers has been much more vulnerable as this season has gone on, and it's led to Brock Purdy when he's been out there taking off and running a lot more. I think that some of the duress has led to inconsistent timing in the pass game at different points in time, and I think it's led to some more turnovers, a few more than we've seen here through Brock Purdy's time as the starting quarterback. So offensive line, always something that is questioned. Pooney is a guy that's going to be a pretty darn good player throughout the course of his career, but he, I think we can say, has struggled in his rookie year as the season has gone on here. And today, he attributed it to just being a little bit out of rhythm, not really necessarily the crowd noise, but just kind of being a little out of sync with everything that was going on, timing off, and that was enough to get a couple of false start penalties.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. 38-10 Niners fall to the Packers in what was a really brutal game. 9 penalties for 77 yards. They run for 44. They commit 3 turnovers, and for the first time all year, hate to end this streak. I said to you in the pregame, Jordan Love does not throw an interception. Let's go to Jim in Manteca. Jim in Manteca, 38-10. How you feeling, bro?
It's Tim, T-I-M, but that's all right. Hey, I swear, every time I call in, everybody gets Jim, so it must be my phone or something. But
maybe Tim. What you got? What you got for us, Jimbo?
Hey, man, I just gotta say, it's so disappointing seeing the Niners and who they were last year, and then now this year, the penalties. I mean, I know that the injuries play a part, but I mean, you look at the team like the Chiefs, man. They got injuries, they're still balling, and the Niners are just like, I don't know, man. It sucks. They suck. They're not a good team, and it hurts to say that. And I think Josh Dobbs would have done way better today. I think his legs get him is a difference maker in the game. I don't know if the team just seems like they're just not willing to try to win. Like they think that it's already over anyway. Well, they're 5-5, so might as well just it is what it is kind of thing.
5-6
anyway,
now. I appreciate it, Tim. So I mean, it was bad all around. I appreciate the call, man. Like it's again 5-6. The one saving grace is they're like a game out of the division after Seattle beats Arizona, which I mean doesn't make you feel great to be a potential victor in a bad division. And this is just trying to be wishful thinking at this point because again, we kept talking about what are they going to show you that they haven't shown you to this point, and today was maybe a step back, even with the injuries. And nobody's going to feel bad, but you're missing 3 of, if not the 3 most important players on your roster. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson. Niners lose at Lambeau Field 38-10. 808 KMBR 415-808-5627 is the number to call. Jeff, BJ, Mac, I see you guys hanging on the line. We will get to you when we come back. We'll catch up later with our guy Larry Krueger as well. This is a brutal one, Niner fans. We'll talk about it next on the Sports Leader.
I thought Brandon was great. He was good in the huddle. Spoke loud and clear, which was really nice for us. Yeah, and he made some really good passes. Definitely didn't see the back shoulder ball coming by any means. Not something that he practiced at all, but he gave me a chance at it, which was fun. Yeah, I thought he played, very well. And I think our run game has to be better, so we can help him out a little bit. And again, we just had so many penalties all over the field, which is just really hard to win football games like that.
As a voice of George Kittle talking about Brandon Allen, that's the pass I was talking about, JD. The one on the back hip where he just turned around, didn't see it coming. I was like, I couldn't believe he came up with it. Almost fumbled it, but went down and made a great grab. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. JD is live from Lambeau Field where the Niners have fallen to the Packers 38-10. They fall to 5-6 and have still yet to beat a winning team this year. JD, what stands out to you most from this game? Is there any one thing you can look at?
Just how they got manhandled at the beginning of the game, and they ran all over them.
It was the defense. The run D was absolutely,
just atrocious. And I think, other teams haven't quite been able to make the 49ers pay. And I kind of had looked at some of the opponents coming up, and Buffalo doesn't necessarily run it well. Detroit was the one down the line where I just thought, man, if they can't shore this up, and in some ways they're fortunate that they're not playing Detroit and haven't played Detroit already, because, that's a team that will just basically do a version of what Green Bay did. They will run it, and they try to get you to 250 yards rushing or whatever it's going to be. And so, you look at it, and to me, they saw a weakness that has been there in the 49ers defense all year. It's not just up front in terms of the defensive tackles, but it that is part of it. And then it's to me, it goes back to having one linebacker in Fred Warner that you can truly trust. That to not have Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner and two guys that can go sideline to sideline and fill gaps and make tackles. The 49ers had 10 missed tackles in the first quarter, Copes. 10 in the first quarter. That's the most by any team in any quarter of any game this season. 10 missed tackles.
Felt like more.
Just absolutely.
Surprised there's only 10.
Absolutely atrocious. And it's been the problem all year.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. Let's get you the difference maker of the game, sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today and at benjaminmoore.com, and by Abundant Life Weight Loss. Call 925-594-7110 to start your journey today. On the offensive side of the ball for the Niners, really the only guy on either side is George Kittle. Catches all 6 of his targets for 82 yards and a touchdown. That was the one touchdown scoring drive of the day. Let's go back out to the phones at 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627. What would you put, and what would you label this 49er team in season? By the way, it's gone. Let's go to Sean in Roseville. Sean, you're on the Sports Leader.
Hey, Cubs. Good to talk to you, man. Thanks for taking my call. I don't understand why we're not starting Dobbs, a guy that's played in NFL games the last 2 years, over a guy that hasn't started in 3 years. Allen was okay today. The ball down the middle of the field, he threw it 5 yards behind him. And we can't tackle. And the other guy that I wonder about is Mason. He had a nice run today, right up the gut. I don't know, maybe got 20 yards on it or something.
16-yard run. Best run of the day, 16 yards. And by the way, I didn't feel like it should have felt as good as it felt. I think that was the problem. Like, he shot out of a cannon. We're like, where was this? What's going on?
Yeah, totally, dude. And then I got super excited about it, and then boom, he's gone. And it's like we don't see him again the rest of the game, and the penalties and everybody, we're beating a dead horse now with all that stuff. It was just a sloppy game, and I kind of agree with Papa. It was a winnable game. It's 17-7, and Mason pops a run. I'm like, okay, dude, we got something here, we might be able to pull this thing out. And nope, I don't get it. I don't get what's going on.
Appreciate the call, Sean. Yeah, again, Pop's saying it's a winnable game. I don't know that I ever got to that point. But I did get to a point where I thought, could they steal this one at 17-7 when they were driving the field, and then at the 4th and 2 play? What'd you think of that 4th and 2 play call there, JD?
Yeah, look, I'm okay with the play call, but you gotta be able to execute.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there. I think the thing that really set it back was the holding call.
Yep.
And again, I know a lot of Niner fans were up in arms about the holding call, but that's the opening kickoff to the second half, and at that point it was game on if that stands and there's no holding penalty, and so but that was the story I thought of the afternoon, and really the second half for the 49ers was the fact that it was just can they return any kind of kick without a penalty? I mean, every punt, every kickoff, it feels like they pick up a penalty trying to block on every single return. And again, another issue that's been a problem for the entire season, special teams in a different way today. Special teams hurt them on what could have been a pivotal moment to help flip the game back in their favor.
415-808-KNBR, 808-5627 is the number to call. Niners fall to the Packers 38-10. Jeff is in Pittsburgh. Jeff in Pittsburgh, you're on the Sports Leader. Jeff in Pittsburgh. We got it, Kyle. You're good. What's up, Jeff? How are you, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. It's our fault. It's my bad. What's going on, dude?
No worries. The word I have is baffled. And the reason I say that is because I just don't understand what Kyle Shanahan sees in Brandon Allen that he doesn't see in Josh Dobbs. Everybody, including Stevie Wonder, could see that Josh Dobbs outperformed Allen in the preseason, wasn't even close. And I believe Dobbs played for about half the teams last year and did pretty damn well under those systems. So don't tell me that he can't pick up other offenses quickly and that he can't get in there and know Kyle the genius's scheme, pick it up right away. The guy's like an astrophysicist or something. I mean, he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And,
he's literally a rocket scientist. Right.
Yeah, and another thing, with these just things that I don't understand. Not drafting an offensive lineman in the first couple of rounds again. Not even looking out on the free agency market for offensive linemen. Kind of like just thinking that anybody can go in there and play. And it's clearly not working. That's why you see the penalties. That's why you see so many false starts. And it's just guys that aren't drafted high, aren't playing well for a reason, you know? And to me, it's like the glaring, obvious player personnel decisions that seem obvious even for a casual fan like me are not being picked up by Kyle. It's cost us. I'm not saying Dobbs would have won this game, but man, don't tell me that Brandon Allen gives you more of an opportunity to gain yards and score touchdowns than Dobbs. Dobbs has, Allen's a statue. Dobbs can scramble. Dobbs has he has a better arm, in my opinion, than Allen after watching him in the preseason. Mm-hmm. And then the Mason thing.
Yeah, the Mason, what I understand. Yeah, I understand the frustration. Jeff, we got to run. I appreciate the call. What I would say to anybody who's Dieter was the one who kind of put me on this week, and I understand the logic, and I don't know that this is the logic. But when Kyle says things, and Tim Ryan says to us, and he's at practice all week, he's around these guys, JD, and when they say, well, if Brock Purdy were to go down in a game, who is most like Brock Purdy to where the game plan and the operation wouldn't change? And that would be Brandon Allen based on the skill set. And I'm okay with that logic. The thought to me is, it's not like Brock went down early in the game, but the Niners were anticipating he would be able to go this week. I don't think they knew until Friday, certainly, that he was not going to be able to play. We found out today that he had an extra MRI. I wonder how much, if Josh Dobbs is out there, to everybody's point, that he can do more athletically. Now, we should point out, yes, he's had more career starts. He had more starts last year than Brandon Allen's had in his career. He also had as many wins. He won 2 starts or 3 starts last year. Now, he did some of them incredibly, where he shows up in Minnesota and play some pickup football. That's not indicative of operating an offense. That was him being able to execute in the moment and handle a game. That's one game at a time. I do wonder, if you get a week and you know that Brock's going to be out for a little bit of time, if Josh Dobbs does offer you the opportunity to do some different things. I understand the logic late in the week to go with Allen. I don't know that he's the reason you lost this game, but it certainly didn't look great.
For me,
defense to me was a big problem. Yeah.
Couple of callers already, and no, I wasn't going to mention the defense specifically again, but I just don't see how anybody could watch the game play out the way that it did and be just angry at the fact that Dobbs didn't get the call over Allen. Like that to me,
that wasn't the difference Dobbs, in the game entirely. No.
I mean, by any stretch. And look, I think, Kyle Shanahan is comfortable with Brandon Allen. I think, I'll also say this. I don't think Allen did anything in the game today, and 49er fans are not going to like hearing this, but knowing Kyle Shanahan, he didn't do anything today that would make me think that he wouldn't start the game at Buffalo if Brock Purdy can't go next Sunday.
I think Brandon Allen started.
Buffalo.
I don't think he's done anything either. Yeah. I don't think anything changes. I think Allen is if Brock can't go, I'm like 95% Allen's your starter. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up to you, because this was a topic of conversation in the Lambeau Field press box a little bit. I'm not sure if Kyle Shanahan addressed it post-game, but it was the pregame photo of Brandon Allen warming up with this splint on his left, so non-throwing, like left middle finger. And and I guess it was referenced on the broadcast. I hadn't heard. I went to the locker room and didn't hear Kyle Shanahan's press conference. But did the broadcast reference Allen as having a broken finger on his left hand?
They referenced it very early in the game, and it was after his first completion, which was the pitch to Kittle, right? Like Kittle's coming over the middle, and he kind of just shovels it up.
Yeah.
And they made note, Tom Brady did, that he shoveled it with his right hand, not his left hand. Because normally when you do that play, you're kind of dropping back. And, it wasn't a design shovel. He stepped up in the pocket. It was kind of facing Kittle perpendicular, and he just sort of threw it with his right hand to him. But then they pointed out that he was wearing that brace on his, like a finger splint on his left finger. And the text I got from our guy Derek Papa was, did Kyle really go with a Brandon Allen with a brace on his finger over Josh Dobbs? I thought, boy, things are just not great right now. Things are just not going well. Yeah.
So that would be the one thing I would say if we want to have a conversation, a debate, and kind of a WTF moment. I mean, that really had everybody perplexed.
Hand, but yeah.
Not the throwing hand, but still, it's that notion of exactly what Derek had said to you, and others had been in my chat. Also, a number of different chats saying, "Hey, did he really start the guy with the broken finger over Dobbs?" So I think that's where it is a little bit odd. And again, I'm not sure if he addressed it in the postgame press conference. I went straight to the locker room, so I missed what Kyle Shanahan had to say if he was asked about that. But again, something else that nobody knew all week. And does any team have more of these, Copes, where you don't hear about something, and then all of a sudden it's like, second MRI for Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Splint on the middle finger, non-throwing hand of your starting quarterback because Brock Purdy is out. It just feels like.
Hey, by the way, did we mention that Christian McCaffrey is against tendonitis in both Achilles or just the one? I can't remember if we told you. It was both of them. You're
exactly.
Right. This thing went on for weeks. You're right. We find this stuff out later. We'll take a quick break. I see all you guys. I know BJ and Mac. I told you I'd get to you. Promise I will. AJ, Rocky, and Ryan. 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627. Line them up. What would you label this 49er team and how we feeling after a 38-10 loss to the Packers? Adam Copeland, John Dickinson. JD is live from Lambeau Field, where the Niners lost 38-10 to Green Bay, only here on the Sports Leader.
They got to go 85 yards and then do it again. Goes in motion, play action to McCaffrey. Allen slipping, fumbled the ball. The Packers dive on it on the 16-yard line. He lost the ball.
Well, let's see if his hand is coming forward empty or the ball was still in it. As he got in his little play action, then slipped and went down. That's going to be a fumble.
Kenny Clark recovered the ball, and he throws the ball into the crowd.
Yeah, that's going to be a fumble.
That's how it sounded at Lambeau Field, where the Niners fell 38-10 to the Green Bay Packers. 3 turnovers in the game, a pick by Brendan Allen, a fumble. They lost another one. They fumbled a couple other times, too, that they recovered themselves, including one at the end of the game where J.P. Mason fumbled. And our guy Ben Barch, the big inactive, active today, recovered a fumble for the Niners at the end of a game. And the Niners just looked as bad as they've looked all season with some backups out there. I know we heard some listeners talking about or some callers talking about the drafting of the Niners. I would take exception with that in the offensive line. I think in terms of how they drafted with Pooney, Pooney's been fantastic. 3 penalties in the opening half, and he had 1 all season, which brings us to protecting the quarterback, sponsored by the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. Protect your community and apply for your new career in law enforcement at cocosheriff.org today, and by Planet Orange, effective eco-friendly pest control. How'd you think they protected Brendan Allen today? 2 sacks for Brendan Allen for a loss of 2 yards. Just in general, I thought I couldn't really tell whether or not it was offensive line and some of it was, but whether it was O-line, which did not block well in the run game whatsoever. Not that they ran it a whole bunch, but also that Allen was a little not happy feet, but he looked like he hadn't played or started a game in 3 years. There
were some throws where the ball needs to get out. Some plays where it's like the ball needs to get out. There was protection and you got to throw it. At times I thought that the timing was off. I don't think, considering the fact that Trent Williams was not playing for the 49ers in this game, I think it could have been a lot worse, honestly. But you look at the protection, and the 2 sacks is 2 sacks. I think, the fumble, we play the clip there. I thought, he was hurried on a play that he threw right to Quay Walker, the linebacker. Walker dropped it. That could have been, one that doesn't go down as maybe an obvious negative to the offensive line, and you're thinking, wow, what is he doing? But I think that was, being a little bit off kilter or out of rhythm or hurried, because sometimes, when you're hurried, it's not just the plays that they sack you or force a fumble. It's the plays where there's normal opportunities to make a play and there is protection, but because you've been hurried on other plays, you rush a throw on those or make a bad decision on those. So all in all, I think could have been worse, but you look up and there were still a couple of sacks and the fumble that led to points. I mean, points off turnovers. We talked about that on pregame. It needed to be, in my opinion, a 49er advantage. It wound up being, 21 points.
Off of 3 turnovers.
49er turnovers. It completely went the other way on San Francisco. And really the 2 turnovers in the second half, the first 2 turnovers were the put-away turnovers when the 49ers were still very much in the game, despite the level at which they were dominated in that first half.
808 KMBR 415-808-5627. Mac is in Fremont, but waiting a while. Mac, you're on the sports leader.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
What's up, Mac?
You know, I think for me, I'm thinking about my word, I would say brittle, in the sense that kind of the cracks are showing, you know, that just thinking about your payroll, your dogs, you know, the guys that you pay to show up in big moments, those guys are hurt, have been hurt the whole season, and you're just having to rely on depth. You know, people you got in the draft that you feel good about, but it's just too early to have to rely on so many people that are unproven. And just the cracks are showing. I think that showed today in the mental mistakes with all the penalties, and just you have this belief in kind of the next man up. But once so many of your guys are down, they're out, Trent Williams gone, Nick Bosa out, Purdy out, Dre Greenlaw out, you know, it's like the Niners that you know and believe in, they're less of what they've been. And I think just some of that lack of belief is showing, but they're still in it. Like you said, I mean, they're within striking distance. It's a time where you have to really kind of hunker down and say, hey, we still believe in ourselves, but we got to lock in and believe that we can be better next week.
Appreciate the call, Mac. Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know what the status is of Brock Purdy, but based on what JD said, and I would agree that Brandon Allen didn't do anything today that would lead you to believe Kyle's going to take him out of this starting lineup. I think people will be upset that you say he operated the offense, but there were some bad decisions made. He's a backup quarterback. I just think that the volatility and the way you'd have to change the game plan a bit for Dobbs, I don't think that rose to the level of concern today with Brandon Allen. The way they played on defense is far worse, I think, than the way the offense ineffectively moved the ball. Rocky is in Vallejo. Rocky, what's going on? You're on KMBR.
Yeah, great show, guys. Thank you. This is very therapeutic. I just wanted to focus on the defense. I always watch the defense very closely. I was very disappointed in Jair Brown. I think Jair Brown, when they drafted him, they thought he was going to be a thumper. He's not a thumper. He's relatively a soft safety in the NFL safety. He's not a great in coverage. He's not physical. We definitely miss Hufanga. Mustafa, I like him. I know he's a strong safety, and Hufanga is a technically strong safety, but I think those two are better than Jair Brown. D. Winters had a good game. Obviously, he only plays 10 plays a game. I have 10 plays a game. I have no idea. Lenore, the hyena, he got paid the last 2 games. He's not been played. He hasn't played well. He's also played soft ever since he got paid. I'm hoping that's a psychological thing. He can get over that. And obviously, Bosa, we missed him. And, you know, when he got paid, I was critical. I was like, I didn't think, I thought his contract was too much, but he proved it. The last game and a half, he's proved his worth. Without him, they're a way different defense. They have no pressure. They have to dial up blitzes and all that stuff. So Bosa is definitely worth every penny he makes.
I appreciate the call, Rocky. Thanks for hanging, man. Yeah, JD, just a thought. I mean, the defense in general played horribly. I mean, 38 points allowed. They got gashed, as you talked about, 169 yards on the ground, and they got beat up badly. Josh Jacobs just ran all over him. We sort of thought, hey, maybe they're better suited to stop a bowling ball type running back. Nope. 169 and over 4 a carry, 4.5 a carry on the ground for him. He had an incredible game. They went 4.9 per play today, 169 total run yards at 4 yards a carry. What'd you see from the secondary, though, like he was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, look, they made, I thought, a couple of big plays there at the end of the first half after the 49ers had scored. Renardo Green got picked on, I thought, today. He did have a breakup on a pass to, was it Melton deep?
Yeah.
Ball was a little bit underthrown, and then there was another deep shot. Lenore and Mustafa met. Lenore on the coverage, and Mustafa was able to have the PBU there on the second and third downs where the Packers just 3 plays in a row went deep after Christian Watson dropped the first one as he beat Yadam, ran right by him. And, again, maybe we're having a little different conversation if Watson catches that. That was a play that should have been made. I thought after that there were a couple of good pass breakups, but the Packers for the most part, Jordan Love can be a little erratic, but I felt like the Packers for the most part got what they wanted when they wanted to get it against the 49ers really in every way.
415-808-KMBR, 808-5627 is the number to call. Niners lose to the Packers 38-10. We got an injury report for you, and we'll catch up with our guy Larry Krueger in just a bit. JD is live from Lambeau Field where the Niners have lost to the Packers 38-10. We got more for you coming up only here on the Sports Leader.
Love is on time and in rhythm, and once he gets a rhythm, one of the 49ers slow to get up. Diamador Lenore is on the ground, clutching at something down in his lower body.
Well, you don't want to lose Diamador Lenore. Just signed that contract extension going into the Seattle game, a 5-year deal at $88.8 million. The performance staff goes on the field to tend to Diamador Lenore. Charvarius Ward inactive today, so Rock Yassin would be the next guy.
There you go. When Demo Lenore left the game today with an injury, Niners fall to the Packers 38-10 at Lambeau Field. Let's get you the injury report sponsored by Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit HabasLaw.com and by Mike Council Plumbing. When you need plumbing, think green and go with Mike Council Plumbing. Online at mcplumbing.com. Demo Lenore left the game with that injury. What else can you tell us, JD, about what Kyle said in the postgame?
Yeah, Lenore ended up coming back, obviously, in the game there. Jordan Elliott ended up out with a concussion. Flanagan Fowles, a knee. Renardo Green, a neck. And that's when the 49ers already playing without Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, and Trent Williams, in addition to Mooney Ward and Jacob Cowing.
So some more injuries, too, some frontline guys for the 49ers. And Ricky Pearsall left the game at one point and then came back. He was able to return a little bit later in the game. Let's go back out to the phone lines at 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627. What would you label this Niners season? Let's go to Ryan in Sacramento. Ryan, you're on the Sports Leader.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, dude?
Hey, so I got good news and I got bad news. So the good news is that Brendan Allen wasn't the biggest problem, but the bad news is Brendan Allen wasn't the biggest problem.
Dude, nailed it. You nailed it, Ryan. There are other bigger problems, and that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Even when those times where there's glimmers of hope where the Niners could get back into the game, you had the sinking feeling where the defense isn't going to stop anybody no matter what. And that's the biggest problem. This defense right now is just a sieve. It's just a shell of itself from what it was. And that's the biggest problem to me.
Appreciate the call, Ryan. Yeah, man, I mean, you said it, JD. That opening drive really set the tone for the Packers. And you look at that and you go, I don't remember. I mean, as much as we've talked about the Niner defense in the last 2 years, and specifically this year, that they haven't been great at stopping the run, they were still a top 10 team at yards per attempt against. Like, they had done a decent job at that. They have not been gashed like that on an opening drive where a team just comes out and ran through their guts. It felt like all the way down to the end zone and then punched it in 3 times today.
Yeah, I'm looking at just the first 3 possessions. Jacobs, 18 yards. Jacobs, 10 yards. Yeah. I mean, it's whatever he was. Second possession, 7 yards for Jacobs, 8 for Jacobs. Emmanuel Wilson then picks up 9. Next play, 19 more for Wilson as well. Yeah. And then after the 49ers punted again, then they got the passing game going. A 27-yarder to Dobbs, another 10-yarder to Dobbs, and then Jacobs just kind of having his way from there. Love hitting Dobbs for another gain of 15. There was a Renardo Green missed tackle. It's just the missed tackles and the lack of physicality that was just a major, major problem. I mean, after those first 3 series, the Packers had 20 carries for 104 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
It was brutal today. I mean, all over the place. And you and I we called that one wrong. I thought in the pregame, thinking that maybe a guy who's not full of speed, the Niners know they're going to run it over 50% or just about 50% of the time, and they could not stop it. AJ is in the 209. AJ, what's up, man? You're on KMBR.
Yo, Super Reporter, what's up, Coach? Welcome back.
What's up, bro?
Okay, so Joe, so to answer your question, Coach, what this season is, this is a market correction from last year. Because last year we were like really lucky with injuries. CMC lasted throughout the year, and we almost got it, but we didn't. This year, everyone's hurt. 1 week it's someone else. The week it's after someone else. Like too much off-season nonsense. When I was watching the game earlier, it gave me vibes of the Eagles playoff game from 2 seasons ago. It just looked bad, and once it started going downhill, it just picked up speed but in the wrong direction. So after that first quarter, man, I started cleaning my house, my floor, my grout, and I got more positive yardage today than the Niners did. So it's just frustrating. I really don't see any possible way we get into the playoffs just with our team construction as it currently is and the way we're playing. Too many missing holes. We're leaking fuel or we're leaking oil, and the wheels are just coming off. We have to win out. We're not built to do it. We just can't compete this year. I think I'm not going to say fire Kyle, but if I'm Jed, I'm getting a stool, standing on it, and look Kyle in the eye and say, dude, what are you doing? There's no reason. Absolutely no reason Mason and Guerrero should not be getting, as many, if not more touches than CMC. There is absolutely no reason for that. Kyle's so damn smart. He outsmarts himself. And I noticed I haven't heard so many calls lately labeling him as a genius because, I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out, Coach. JD, have one of evening, fellas. Later.
Appreciate it, bro. What do you make of that? I mean, the best run of the day was J.P. Mason, shot out of a cannon. We've seen that a couple of times since Christian McCaffrey came back. And I said to you before the game, I'm looking for something that will show me the Niners can be a different team that we've seen to this point, and McCaffrey offered very little today.
No, 11 for 31, under 3 yards a carry. His long was 9. They did have the one pass play that went for 23, but then he fumbles on the play and they lose it. So no, they're not run blocking well enough. But then Mason gets in there, and like you say, you break one off. Look, I think as far as I'm concerned with moving forward, as bad as it is right now at 5-6, and it's got an outstanding chance of being 5-7. And I mentioned this a little bit last week toward the end of the show. I do think it's important that the 49ers continue to fight to try and, at worst, be 7-7 after the 2 home games coming up against the Bears and Rams. And I think a lot of whether they believe they can do that or not is going to be contingent on the true severity of Brock Purdy's injury and Nick Bosa's injury and Trent Williams' injury. But there is still a pathway if they can beat the Bears and Rams, and I'm not saying those are automatic wins by any stretch. I mean, these are teams that have the same or better records than the 49ers, close to it at that. But I do think, if you're 7-7 with 3 games left, you're not going to be out of it, especially in this division. It's hard, though, because when you get your ass kicked the way they got their ass kicked today, and then you may go and have the same thing happen again at Buffalo, you start to wonder at what point does a team that's been through so much the last few years just stop fighting. That's a worry that I would have from this week to next. It's a worry that I would have from next week to the following, because to me it's not just, they're not quite mathematically eliminated yet. I actually think there is, believe it or not, I do think there is still a pathway that's semi-realistic and not just in the, only mathematical kind of a way. 7-7 with 3 games to go, going to Miami, things could start to look a lot different in the division, probably more so than the wild card race, and maybe they need the perfect luck tiebreaker. Seattle beats this team, Rams beat that team, 49ers went out in the division, all of that, and it goes down to point differential in week 18 of some random-ass game that flips it. But I think that chance still, as bleak as it looks right now, that chance still exists for the 49ers. I know a lot of Niner fans aren't going to want to hear that either.
808 KMBR is the number to call. Let's go to Ray in Lodi. Ray's been waiting a while. What's up, Ray? You're on KMBR.
Yeah, hey, earlier you had said who's most Brock Purdy-like between Dobbs and Allen, and I would argue it's Dobbs. You know why? Because if you look at Brock Purdy this year, he's been running for his life. He is not sitting back there all game and, throwing darts. He doesn't have the time. And with this offensive line, the way that it's cobbled together, you have to have somebody that can move. Allen tried to run. There was a play where he tried to run to his left, and he got run down. He's slow. I'm sorry, he is. And Dobbs is faster. He had a broken finger. Dobbs doesn't. You know, I mean, it's like Kyle doesn't want to admit this isn't working. He just keeps on pressing with the same plays, the same people. CMC, you know, hey, I love him, but the guy, if he does have those Achilles tendon problems, sit him. You know, put Garendo and Mason the rest of the way. You're going to get more yards. And here's some news. Everybody's figured out the jet sweep. You can stop running that because that thing gets shut down every time. And CMC tried to run it. It doesn't matter who's running it. And Allen throws a good spiral, but those passes to Debo, even though he got his hands on them, they weren't coming in like, you know, with any kind of touch. He just fired him in there. Now, he's got to catch it because he's a professional athlete. But, you know, again, it's not working. And Kyle just looks all frustrated. Special teams let us down again today. I mean, fire that guy. I mean, somebody's head's got to roll. Show that you want to win. Put in the guys that are healthy.
Appreciate the call, Ray. The guys who are healthy are in there. I mean, again, you can look at the finger of Allen and say he wasn't healthy. But again, as our caller earlier, I can't remember his name. He had the perfect line. He said the biggest issue is that the biggest problem is that the biggest problem was not Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen was not the reason they lost, and that's the bigger issue, is that he played, again, I don't know that I agree that he played well enough to win, but they were 17-7 and they were moving the ball. Like that, you're in the game at that point. I didn't have much confidence that they would pull one out, but you were in position to steal a game in a situation where maybe you shouldn't have. And because of other elements of the game, because the defense was incapable of getting stops at all on the ground, and because the Niners turned it over 3 times on offense, show me a game that anybody wins turning it over 3 times on offense. And only, I guess, 2 of those are on Brandon Allen. But, I can't tell you I believe Josh Dobbs would have been that much better in this situation. Allen is not the reason you lost the game. Again, I'm not convinced that it's much different with Brock Purdy out there today.
No, and I think, again, maybe it was only those first 2 possessions, the 2 3-and-outs, but the Niners couldn't stop anybody, and then they had the touchdown drive right before the half, which was good. Second half, the turnover on downs, the 4th and 2 call that you asked me about earlier. What did you think of that, by the way?
What's that?
Did you like the 4th and 2 play call?
I didn't love it. I kind of wanted to see it run there. But again, the holding penalties that held you up on 3rd down 2 different times are what really set you back. I didn't love the play call there. I liked going for it. I just didn't want to throw there. I didn't think that Allen had showed you enough that he was going to complete a pass. I didn't understand why they didn't run it enough early in the game anyway. Those first 3 drives, it just didn't seem like they were going to the run whatsoever. Eventually they get down there and they score the touchdown. They're up against the 4-minute clock there at that point, kind of. So I'm okay with how it went down in the first half, but I didn't love the not going to McCaffrey that early in the game.
Yeah, and they were moving it on that series. They had the big pass to Kittle for 31 on the next possession, and then it was the interception and the ball that goes through Debo's hands with some zip, and it got returned all the way back to the 49er 25. So to that point, though, end of the first half, final possession, they go score. Yep. They're moving it when they turn it over in the second half. They were moving it. Then there's the interception. They did get a field goal. So we're really talking about 4 possessions. A couple of them ended badly where they were moving it after only those first 2 possessions where it was 3-and-out, 3-and-out.
By the way, just of note, Debo did not meet with the media today, refused to meet with the media today. And we talked to Kruger about this last week on the postgame where Juwan Jennings did not meet with the media. I was like, I don't know about that. He had a huge game, and he said, and Kruger made a great point. He said, that's the situation where I'm okay with a guy not meeting with the media. You have a big game and your team loses. You don't want to go out there and act like you're bigger than anything else going on. Today's the day where I think Debo Samuel needed to take some ownership and be a leader and step up and say things are not going well. Let's go out to Fozzie at 808 KMBR 415-808-5627. Fozzie's in the East Bay. What's up, Fozzie? How are you?
What's up, boys? Thanks for taking my call. JD, my brother.
What's up, man?
You, man? But, yeah, man, I mean, when you pay these guys, you got to play them, right? And, I mean, I don't mean to get into all the politics of it, but these guys restructured CMC, and I know a lot of fans are clamoring for Jordan Mason to get on the field, but when you're taking money out of your boss's pockets to, get a guy on the field, you want to show some production, and I feel like that's what's going on. I mean, it's bad enough CMC missed the first 8 games of the season, and now, you're just trying to, catch a check-in with him and make it worth what you spent. But, we can sit here and, go back and forth about, reacting to this game and what it might mean for the future. But, man, let's call it for what it is. It's time to turn the page on the season. I know that's probably hard to say right now, especially with a lot of season left. But I think if we're looking at it realistically, we need Brock Purdy. We need to pay him. We've seen what the team looks like without him. let's go out and give him his money and see what next year looks like.
Appreciate the call, Fozzie. Thanks, bro. Yeah, I mean, that's what people were saying after last week. Like, oh, can you pay Brock 60? Is he losing money off of this? And I go, that's just the price of doing business with quarterbacks today. If you don't have Brock Purdy, the same as people who are saying Kyle can't be here, I go, who are you going to go to? And I was asking this question this week is, show me a team. It's not like basketball where a team is assembled. You need the right head coach where you plug them in. You go, okay, now run with these 5 guys and whatever bench you can assemble. Show me the last time that's happened where a team just was that close, got a different coach, and went with the same roster effectively and won it all. The other day I said that somebody said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Gruden. Yeah, that was like 23 years ago. My point is, when you bring in a coach, he puts his system in place. Like, people believe you should tear it down. That's one thing. But this team is clearly pot committed. This, to me, has more to do with the last few years, JD, than it does with any one thing this season. It's the banged-up players. It's the aging players. And we've talked so much about the talent on this roster. I think it's a fair thing to start questioning how much of that talent is at the level we believe that it was at entering the season relative to entering last season, because we haven't seen a lot of it.
No, we haven't. And I think, when you aren't quite as deep as you think you are, and then you have some injuries, it can just careen on you in a really bad way very quickly. And I think that's kind of what we've seen. Like, you think that there are enough reinforcements, but then you very quickly find out that there aren't. And then you start to look around and guys that you're used to having perform at a certain level. Like Deebo Samuel's a perfect example of this. You're used to when there are guys out or Christian McCaffrey's banged up or you need a game like today, you've got a backup quarterback. The 49ers are used to, over the years, being able to line Deebo Samuel up in the backfield, get the ball to him, and he can be somebody that can almost carry you to at least hanging in a game, if not winning it. Like, those days are over.
Yeah.
So now it's gone from a guy who was a carrier to, Kittle did a little of that today, I thought, but and then you start looking around and you start saying, oh wow, this guy might not be here. That guy's contract's at a point where they're going to have to make a decision. Even McCaffrey, I give him credit for getting the treatment and grinding it out and coming back and playing. But let's just be honest. Christian McCaffrey has not looked like Christian McCaffrey. So what's going on there? Has he lost a step? Is it an injury thing? Is it blocking? Because there are a lot of things that have made this 49ers team, Cope, so dynamic over the years that just aren't the same. And then it starts to lead you down the path of questioning, is the run coming to an end? Have we seen the best chance that this core group is going to have together to win a Super Bowl?
You sure hope not, because a lot of these guys were under contract for a number of years. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson, 38-10 the final. Niners fall to 5-6 at the hands of the Green Bay Packers. We'll hear from the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, next on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. Niners fall to the Packers 38-10 in Lambeau Field, where JD is on hand. He was there to watch that one. No major injuries to talk about. Timo Lenore did leave the game with an injury, but he did return. But they did feel the absence of Nick Bosa today, as well as Brock Purdy and Trent Williams. And what's tough is those three guys played last week. Niners only put up 17 points. So you got to wonder what's going on with this team. 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627 is the number to call. The post-game interview is sponsored by the Handler Union Square Hotel, San Francisco's oldest family-owned hotel. Our post-game interview is the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan at the podium after the game. Here is Kyle Shanahan.
All right, guys. Injuries. Jordan Elliott was out with concussion, didn't return. Flanagan Fowles, knee, didn't return. Renardo Green with the neck. And Aaron Banks left for concussion also. Go ahead.
What part of this game was the biggest disappointment for you?
I mean, the whole game was. So to label the biggest one, the first half, just the run defense was real disappointing. I thought we got out of a gaps a number of times. I thought we had way too many missed tackles. Just them being able to control that clock in the first half was one of the worst ones I've been a part of, just for as far as a half. I thought we stepped it up there in the second half, did better, especially in the run game. Offense got an opportunity to get going. They gave us an opportunity to get back in the game. And then to have those 3 turnovers, that all 3 led to touchdowns, so 21 points. You top that with the penalties and stuff, and that's how you get embarrassed like that.
How did you guys get back-to-back 2-0?
The first one, they had 12 personnel, 2 tight ends in the huddle, which means we have base defense out. They sent another receiver on the field to sub, which when they sub, they're supposed to allow us to sub. So as soon as they did that, we started to change our personnel, and then they rushed up to the line and snapped it. It was a strategic play by them, but one that I don't feel should have been allowed. They didn't give us time to sub on that, and that's why I was upset on that. And then the next one, because they got away with the first one, they tried to do it again the next play, and that's when I went out there arguing again. This time they did allow us to sub. I was out there screaming the whole time, so I'm not exactly aware of what happened with our 12 guys, but obviously we had 12 guys out there. They gave us time to sub, and we didn't get one off. So the second one was on us. When you play first half like that, we gotta be on in the second half, and I loved how we came out on that kick return. I thought that was going to give us some huge momentum. Got called back with that penalty, so we had to go on a long, good drive, and on that drive, I think we got stopped on 4th and 2. But our defense, I think, held them to a 3-and-out, so we got it right back, and we were driving, and I thought it seemed like a hell of a throw. They had some soft zone, and he threaded in there between their 2 backers, and looked like it went off Devo's hands, and that was huge because we were trying to get back in the game, but also because they got a big return and got 7 points off of it.
Second in a row, a lot of penalty issues. What's your frustration level right now with that?
Big. That was huge at the beginning of the game. We were struggling to get the ball at the beginning of the game and both of those first 2 drives. We had 2nd and 1 and go back to 2nd and 6 on that tip ball. And then the next one we started in 1st and 20. So I thought that killed us in the opening drives. And I'll see on those special team ones, a couple I looked up on the scoreboard and, see on the plane how much we agree with them or not. But we got to be much better with the penalties, obviously.
I know you never want those issues, but when you're missing as many key guys as you are, is it even more imperative to play clean?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really not concerned right now about how many guys we missed today. We don't play good enough, so that's not a factor. But when you are missing some guys, you do have to be better. And when you have those penalties, when we didn't stop the run like we did, and then having those 3 turnovers in the second half, that's how you get embarrassed.
When did Brandon? What was your assessment of how Allen performed
I thought Allen, from what I saw, first of all, we all got embarrassed. No one played that great, but Brandon, I thought he did some good things. I thought he made some big throws. Just the plays I can think of. He had a rough one in the beginning that he threw to them. They dropped. 2 plays he just slipped on that field that hurt us. But I thought Brandon made some big throws and stuff and gave us a chance.
When did he get his finger?
A few weeks ago, whenever we reported it.
Why start him in spite of that?
Because he's not hurt. You said why start him? Why start him because of the injury?
In spite of
He's fine. He hurt his fingers like 3 weeks ago. No, I mean we haven't done anything since. He's been rehabbing the whole time here, and sure we'll take him through some stuff early Monday or Tuesday, and got a better idea then.
How close was Trent today? What was that decision?
It was close. I mean, it took it all the way up to now, but I mean all the way up till today. But you know, he was hurting yesterday a little worse than last week at this time, which made us nervous, and didn't wake up good today.
What do you see Christian do?
I mean, we didn't get our run game going much. I think we only had about 14 carries, and you know, we didn't see much from anybody today.
Do you feel like you guys have lost some of that physicality that you guys try to have as a building block for this team?
In what aspect?
It just seems that in the running game both ways, you know, the offensive running game and then the run defense just seems to be, it almost feels like you guys are kind of getting pushed around in front.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a good old line. They got a good scheme. You know, they ran the ball well. I mean, when you say we're missing physicality, I mean, we are missing some guys, you know, especially some of the more physical guys in terms of like Greenlaw and stuff, and some of our D linemen, and you know, losing our biggest run stopper and Jordan Elliott during that game. So when you're missing some guys out there, which makes a difference, but I thought they did better in the runs versus in the second half. Offensively, I don't think we're lacking physicality. We just didn't get a run game going today, and a lot of that has to do with not attempting to do much of it too.
Us 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan post-game with the media there and talking about a variety of things, talked extensively there about why he was so frustrated on the back-to-back 12 men on the field call, and then also never got the run game going as related to Christian McCaffrey. He was asked specifically there, JD, about starting Brandon Allen in spite of having the finger splint on, and he said that finger splint thing happened a couple of weeks ago. He said whenever we reported it. So, again, none of us are looking or paying much attention to that sort of injury. But, again, it was on his off throwing hand. It was on his left hand. So I don't know what big of a difference that made. And Kyle said he made some big throws. Certainly there were some drops there. But, again, as he said, when you're missing players, it's always tough to win. However, you can't put it on these injuries here. I'm not sure that having some of those other guys would have made much of a difference based on the mistakes that were made.
I hear you on that, and I think, nobody really is paying attention. You know, we get those injury reports Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and when the backup quarterback pops up on an injury report when he hasn't played
in 2 years, you're not really thinking about it. Yeah.
You're not really thinking about it.
Maybe we saw it. I don't even remember. Right.
But you know, when you are thinking about it, you're thinking about it when the team puts out a photo prior to the game of him warming up, and he's got a splint on his middle finger of his left hand.
Yeah,
like and then you look early on in the game, and he fumbles the ball, and gets lucky. It bounces like a basketball right back to him, and you're thinking, is he having trouble maybe hanging onto the ball because there's a splint on the middle finger of his left hand. So there are things where I'm not saying it's anything, but the optics of those two things specifically, in conjunction with the belief that, hey, Joshua Dobbs and Brandon Allen are pretty similar skill sets. Maybe Dobbs is better, maybe Allen's better. No real distinct. There's actual data and facts that would say Dobbs, has won some games and performed at a higher level than Allen in his career. So, it's not nothing to have people kind of wondering what the heck was going on about that specifically.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. JD is live from Lambeau Field, where the Niners have fallen to the Green Bay Packers at 38-10. They moved to 5-6. The one, I guess, if you call it a saving grace that keeps any playoff hopes alive in the NFC West, it's that Seattle beat the Arizona Cardinals today. We can give you more on the scores from around the league in just a bit. We'll also get you the player of the game and the drive of the game, and then we'll wrap things up here in about 15 minutes or so. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson, only here on the Sports Leader.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of the worst ones I've been a part of. You know, it is embarrassing. You got to take it on the chin, take it like a man, and move on.
I was the voice of Fred Warner. Guy who's not seen a whole lot of losses like this, and I hear him when he says probably one of the worst losses I've ever been a part of. And you know, I don't know when you lose a game like this in the fashion that it happened because of the 3 turnovers and the way that it went down. This is one of those you flush the tape type games. You didn't have all your players, which again is not an excuse, but the execution of the players that you did have was, for lack of a better term, piss poor. I mean, Kyle Shanahan was asked by Matt Mayoko there to start the post-game presser, what was the most disappointing thing about it? It was funny because Kyle said, well, the whole game was terrible. Basically, the entire thing was bad. And then he ended up honing in there on run defense on that opening drive specifically, and in the first half, I think we'd all agree, they melted the clock down. 49ers got a couple of drives out, 6 plays, 6 yards, couldn't move the ball at all, and 169 in total. You talked about some of the big yards early in the game for Josh Jacobs, who ends up with over 103 touchdowns. I mean, he just gashed them. And Elijah Wilson, the other one, who pops in and was able to pick up a few. Didn't really matter that it was just Jacobs. It was that the Niners' run defense was not up to snuff for this one.
No, it wasn't, and that set the tone for the whole game. And, you know, there are times this season where I've been in that locker room postgame after some difficult losses, and you can just see Fred Warner not used to this level of futility for the 49ers as a team. Yeah, as they were on the come, and Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt in 2018. That season went awry. The COVID year, nobody was in any locker room, so you didn't necessarily see it. But that's been kind of the 2 outliers, really. You know, since Fred Warner's been around, it's been Super Bowl, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl. And this year is really the first year where they've, you know, it hasn't been until today a quarterback-specific issue in terms of availability that's wrecked shop. And this defense has never, in many ways, been worse or more vulnerable than they've been really since the midpoint of last year. And I think they've duct taped it together at times and bend but don't break at times, although they've lost some games late. And I just think Fred is just really having a difficult time processing the fact that it's not the standard that has been set, that he's helped to set as, you know, that one of the headlining players on that end of the football.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. Niners fall 38-10 to the Packers. JD is live from Lambeau Field. We got more to come for you after we tell you who the player of the game was. Sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. There's only one guy I can even think of that I would give any nod to here for the 49ers. That's George Kittle. 6 for 684 and a touchdown. I mean, he, again, has been the most steady, consistent, probably an all-pro level for him this year for George Kittle. That's the only guy I can think of, JD.
No, it's Kittle. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I couldn't come up with anybody else at this point. I mean, really. I mean, who a couple PBUs for Lenore. I mean, other than that, I mean, tough stuff.
I guess we'll go with Kittle. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson. More to come for you. We'll get to the drive of the game after this as the Niners fall 38-10. By the way, at about 6:40, we'll get you over to the Rams and the Eagles in progress. Guess we're all just rooting for every team against the NFC West, which I guess you normally are, but tough one tonight. Eagles taking on the Rams in Los Angeles. Got to root for Philly here. Keep any sort of hope alive for the 49ers playoff run here at the end of the season, and it only gets tougher from here. You got a game against Buffalo in Buffalo next week, and Brock Purdy's status is uncertain. More to come only here on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. JD live from Lambeau Field where the Niners have lost to the Green Bay Packers 38-10. And again, they were talking analytic percentages. I heard Greg Silver and Greg Papa earlier this week talking about the percentage chance they had to get into the playoffs. And they were still graded at like about 50%, I guess. And I don't know what analytic goes into this, but they were graded at like 50% going into the game, even after losing last week to Seattle. And if they were to lose this game, it was going to drop somewhere like below 10%. Now, you need some help from other teams in the division, and you got to get better. And they've shown very little in the last couple of weeks and out of the bye that they're no different than the team that we saw really following week one. We saw them beat the Jets, probably their best game all year. And the Jets stink. I mean, that's as well as they've played. They were as sharp as they've looked all season on both sides of the ball. And even then, they struggled to find the end zone. 6 field goals that night on opening night against the Jets on Monday Night Football against New York for the 49ers. Let's get you the drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda. More than just a car dealership. We're family. The drive of the game, the only touchdown drive of the game for the 49ers, it was to end the first half. Brandon Allen finds George Kittle in the back of the end zone.
Allen in the shotgun. They motion Deebo Samuel inside of Ricky Pearsall, right 2 by 2. Allen looks right, throws middle. Caught by George Kittle. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Kittle over the middle.
Yeah, what do you think got played, JD? I mean, I thought some of Allen's throws were fairly high today, even the one that goes through Deebo's hands. That's one Deebo should have had, but I don't know how they let Kittle find the back of the end zone there, and a great catch. He falls down, drags his feet. I would say, like, of the potent, awesome touchdowns Kittle's had this year, like, maybe more potent than anybody else's touchdowns relative to the catches he's made in traffic and how he's had to get control of his body and drag toes in the end zone.
Yeah, that was a great one, and Allen saw him, but I think he saw him a little late. That was kind of an arm strength throw.
Yeah.
From Allen there. I mean, he threw it, and I'm thinking, whoa, is it going to get there? And it definitely got there, and it was a great catch by Kittle. And at that point, you're thinking, wow, the 49ers are going to get the ball back if they can get a stop, which they did. And that possession at least gave them a chance.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson, we will sign off when we come on back. We'll get you over to they're just about to get to halftime. They're under 2 minutes in the Sunday Night Football game. It is a 7-6 with 1:30 to play in the second quarter. Rams over the Eagles right now, 7-6, and everybody's pulling for the Eagles now if you're a 49er fan. But again, not a lot of hope, I feel like, from the faithful here as we've taken several calls today. Adam and JD will sign off when we come on back on the Sports Leader.
there's always a fight. You know, it's one game at a time. Each day you got to wake up, look yourself in the mirror, and get better, whether you win or lose. And speaking for me personally, that's what I'm going to do.
That's Christian McCaffrey. In a game like this, props to the guys who had to stand up at the podium again. I just think we should make note. Deebo Samuel did not want to talk to the media today, which I would say, dude, just step up to the podium and lock in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, seriously, you got to answer when things don't go well. And shout out Dominic Pooney, by the way, who stepped up and had to answer questions after he had one of the roughest games, the roughest game on the offensive line, especially penalty-wise, for his young career.
No question. And, I was right there when Debo declined, and it's just unfortunate. Juwan Jennings has had a couple of games this year where he's had massive outputs, and they've lost a couple of the blown lead games, and he's declined. I think with the right intention, and that he doesn't want to focus on, Juwan, great day, we lost. I don't think his intention is bad, but at the same time, people want to hear from the headliners, and Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel. Juwan's made himself a headliner. Deebo Samuel obviously has been one for years.
So this is a brutal one for the Niners. They fall in this one 38-10 is the final. They put up, 240 yards, 241 yards of total offense in this one. They get 44 yards rushing on the ground. Christian McCaffrey just 11 carries, 17 points scored last week, and that's why I sort of look at this and think, I don't know, it would have been much different based on the health of the roster. Nick Bosa may not have been able to do enough, but may have created more pressure for their offense to not be able to put up what they were able to put up, except it's the run and the run defense that has been problematic for the Niners. This was as bad as it's been all year. Kansas City and this one are the two you look at. But the Niners losing to an NFC opponent like this on the road with one of the Super Bowl contenders in the Buffalo Bills coming up next week. This is a brutal one.
It's a brutal one, and next week isn't going to be any easier. In fact, it's probably going to be worse. Not in terms of the outcome. I'm not saying the Niners are going to get blown out worse than by 4 touchdowns, but just the opponent going in, the environment. It's going to be colder. It's there's potential for snow. It's going to be later in the evening, and the Bills are as good as any team in the NFL this season. So it's going to be a very difficult task. We'll see what happens as far as the injuries go. But the one thing that I keep focusing on, as much as nobody wants to hear it, and I was having the conversation with Tim Webb during the break, it's the fact that there still is a pathway, if the Niners want to fight for it, to lose next week and still get to 7-7. Doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs if they do that. Doesn't mean they're going to have enough fight left, depending upon how next week goes, to come back and beat Chicago and the Rams. Those games are certainly not gimmies of teams with similar records as the Niners, but there is a pathway out of the hole if they can get a little healthier and keep fighting for it and give themselves a shot down the stretch. Again, I get it, though. Right now, it's not good. With the team 5-6.
Well, what's coming up is 49ers at the Bills, Sunday Night Football next week in Buffalo. Then they get the Bears at home, the Rams at home on a Thursday night, another short week. They go to Miami, at home for the Lions, and then at Arizona to end the season. Still not off the table that Arizona game means something, so I'm going to hold on to that, JD. John Dickinson with us from Lambeau Field, our super reporter, boots on the ground. JD, thanks for being here today, man. I know it's your job, but I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, brother, always.
All right, dude. Have a great, safe trip home from Wisconsin. Adam Copeland signing off for John Dickinson. Thanks to our guy, Tim. Thanks to Ryan, who was out there cutting sound for us today. Thanks to Kyle Haar. And thanks to the other Kyle Chung, who was here today, doing some work as well. 49ers fall to the Green Bay Packers. We will send you over to the end of the first half. The Philadelphia Eagles lead 13-7 over the Rams at SoFi Stadium. Keep it locked right here on KNBR all week long, starting 6 a.m. tomorrow with Murph and Marcus for tons of 49er coverage all week on your home of 49er football for the last 20 seasons. Signing off after the 49ers lose Week 12 at Lambeau Field to the Green Bay Packers 38-10. Only here on the Sports Leader.
Hurts left. He'll motion into the left slot. Hurts looks over the defense. Left foot in front of right. Play clock at 5. Hurts gets the shotgun snap. Back to pass. Looking. Throws a slant left side for Brown. It's behind him and incomplete. And that'll bring up 4th down with 7 seconds remaining. Darius Williams was in coverage. And what do you do here, Kurt? Is it time to throw the Hail Mary?
I actually think you've got an opportunity here with 7 seconds left to get another one of those quick throws just like you saw there and maybe give Elliott a long field goal attempt here. That quick slant there, get you 7-8 yards. You got the timeout in your back pocket. I think you try that route as opposed to the Hail Mary.
And remember, this is 4th down, so they will need at least 7. Otherwise, the Rams could have a chance to throw a Hail Mary of their own. Hurts lines up in the shotgun. Trips right, single man left. And now a timeout will be spent by L.A. So the Rams take their final timeout to talk things over here before the Eagles run this 4th down snap. Well, join us Thursday for a Thanksgiving Day full of football. First, the Detroit Lions play host to the Chicago Bears. Then it's an NFC East tilt when the New York Giants take on the Cowboys in Dallas. And finally, the Miami Dolphins take on the Green Bay Packers from Lambeau on Thanksgiving night. Our special holiday coverage begins at 12 noon Eastern. Log on to WestwoodOneSports.com for more details or to listen to the live stream for free. If it's the NFL, it's on Westwood One.
So, Ryan, I'm thinking in this situation right here, if I'm calling a play, I'm going to call one of those quicker plays, try to pick up that 1st down, obviously, so we can kick it. But if I'm Jalen Hurts and one of those quick throws isn't open or it's something short of the sticks, I think I just launch this thing up into the air and out of bounds, try to use up that 7 seconds so the Rams don't get an opportunity.
And remember, the clock does not stop until the ball hits something. So he could heave it up there and it could land way out of bounds. Clock will not stop until it touches the ground. Backs on either side of Hurts. 2 receivers right, single man left. Goddard is lined up to Hurts' right. Gainwell to his left. Now Goddard motions out to the right side. He lines up inside the numbers. Hurts gets the snap. It's a quarterback draw left side. He's hit. He's wrapped up. He's driven backwards. And that is how the half will end. As Jalen Hurts ran off the left side, he lost yardage on the play. Michael Hoyt was all over it. And we will go to the halftime locker room with the Eagles on top by a score of 13-7.
Wow, I'm not so sure on that. Man, you go down there a second earlier, it gives the Rams one opportunity. Just surprised they didn't throw that ball, but another good break there for the Eagles.
Well, Kurt, they just made the announcement, what you were talking about. There are 2 seconds left on the clock. His forward progress was stopped, and so the Rams are going to get the ball at the Eagles' 48-yard line. So they have a chance for Matthew Stafford to show off that big arm and launch one toward the end zone.
We definitely know he's got enough in him right now. And we've seen this a couple times this year. Buy a little bit of time back there, let your guys get down the field and heave it up. He's got some guys on the other end that can go up and make some contested catches.
So Nakua, Kupp, and Whittington will go wide to the left. Single receiver, I believe that's DeMarcus Robinson out wide to the right. Stafford lines up in the shotgun. Eagles have 3 standing at the goal line. They will rush 4. Here's the snap. Stafford back to pass. Rush coming. Stafford in trouble, and he is sacked again. Josh Sweat this time gets home, and that is how the half will end. A loss of 10 on a sack by Philadelphia, and now we go to the locker room with the Eagles on top by a score of 13-7. Kurt, enjoy the halftime ceremony, my friend.
All right, buddy. See you up there in a bit.
End of the first half with the score. Eagles 13, Rams 7. When we return, Scott Graham rejoins us from our studios with the halftime report. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League.
When it feels like the world has stopped, good finds a way. Good is happening, even now. Good connects us, even when we can't get close. Good never stops, and neither does Children International. With support from caring friends, we help provide children and families with the critical essentials they need. Essentials like food assistance, hygiene education, medical help, and financial support. To learn more, go to children.org/help today. Together, we can help end poverty for good.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the 5 words he spoke before leaving for his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. Words that live in veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians who go out of their way to find a way, who help others with the help of others, who bounce back after each setback, who make good on good intentions. Through Travis Manion Foundation, if not me, then who, are words that can live in you too. Show the world what your character is made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org. That's travismanion.org.
Scott Graham from our Westwood One studios. We reached halftime at SoFi Stadium. Philadelphia Eagles right now on top of the Rams by a score of 13-7. Let's get you updated on what happened earlier today in the National Football League. The standard bearer for the conference these two teams play in, of course, right now is the Detroit Lions, and it remains that way. Detroit goes into Indy today and beats the Colts 24-6. They are now 10-1 for the first time since 1934. Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown today, but Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 2, David Montgomery for 1. That 10-1 record has Detroit sitting up on top of the heap as they get ready for Thanksgiving Day football at home right here on Westwood One against the Chicago Bears. Anthony Richardson held to 172 yards on the day through the air. Indy is now 5-7. Minnesota went to Chicago today. The Bears hadn't been scoring, but Chicago put up 17 fourth-quarter points and forced this game to overtime. That's where Sam Darnold and company finally took it home.
This is a 29-yard field goal between the hash marks to win it. Snap spot. Romo! Yes! And the Minnesota Vikings have won 5 consecutive games at Soldier Field. The final score, 30-27.
Paul Allen and Pete Bursich, the KFAN Minnesota Vikings radio network. Minnesota gets the victory despite just 2 catches on the day from Justin Jefferson. A couple of touchdown passes from Sam Darnold, and Aaron Jones ran for 106. Chicago falls to 4-7, although Caleb Williams did throw 2 touchdown passes. First time he had thrown a touchdown pass in 5 games. Rough times for the San Francisco 49ers. They went to Lambeau Field today. They got their helmets handed to them by the Green Bay Packers. 38-10 the final in this one today. Jordan Love only threw for 163 yards, but he threw for 2 scores on the day. Josh Jacobs ran for 3 touchdowns and 106 yards as Green Bay avenges last year's divisional playoff loss to San Francisco and improves to 8-3. Brandon Allen got the start today. First start since 2021 as Brock Purdy's out with a shoulder injury. He threw for 199 yards and a score. Christian McCaffrey held down to 31 yards rushing, 37 receiving. San Francisco's 5-6, and they're going to Buffalo next week to take on the Bills here on Sunday Night Football. Seattle got a victory at home today against Arizona, breaking a 4-game losing streak at Lumen Field, and they did it the old-fashioned way, with defense.
Play fake. Murray's going to try to get it. He's going to run far side. He's going to dump it over the top. Intercepted. Kobe Bryant. Far sideline. He's got the blockers. 30, 25, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown. Seahawks. No flags. Kobe Bryant on a huge mistake. Murray floats it up, overthrows the tight end. Bryant picks it off.
Steve Rabel on Seahawks Broadcasting. Seattle wins at 16-6. They are now 6-5 on the year. So is Arizona, the team they beat today, both tied atop the NFC West. Wild game in D.C. today. Dallas and Washington combined for 41 points in the fourth quarter. This one was crazy. I don't have time to tell you everything that happened. Dallas walked out with a 34-26 win to break their losing streak. They're now 4-7. Washington's lost 3 in a row. They're 7-5. And Tampa Bay went into New York today and beat up on the Giants. They took a 23-0 lead at halftime. They win it today in the Meadowlands by a score of 30-7. Baker Mayfield did not throw for a score. He did run for one. Big day for Bucky Irving as Tampa Bay improves to 5-6. New York went with Tommy DeVito as their new starting quarterback. He threw for 189, but no touchdowns. The Giants are now 2-9. Our halftime score, Philadelphia 13, the LA Rams 7. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League.
Do you know that most adults with autism are unemployed and a major hurdle is the lack of job opportunities? Well, that's about to change thanks to a new initiative from Autism Speaks, Lee Container, the J. Donald and Laurel Lee Family Foundation Fund, and Delivering Jobs that seeks to create a more inclusive workforce in the U.S. Lee Container is a family-owned business that has found success by staying true to the golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. There are hundreds of thousands of people with autism and people with intellectual or developmental differences who are ready and willing to work in our communities. Our coalition is committed to hiring an inclusive workforce, providing training for hiring professionals, and providing guidelines for all employees. Together, we can create a workforce where people of all abilities can contribute and thrive. Will you join us? We are inviting other businesses, institutions, and community leaders to join in. To learn more, please visit autismspeaks.org/employment.
Furnished by the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Every year, millions of pets go missing, leaving families heartbroken. If you lose or find a pet, Petco Love Lost is here to help. Our free, easy-to-use platform uses photo matching technology across multiple media platforms to bring lost pets home. Just upload a photo and quickly search the largest national lost and found pet database. Let's unite to reunite, because every lost pet deserves to find their way home. Register today at PetcoLoveLost.org.
COVID-19 has changed everything for the children of the world. Since the earliest days of the pandemic, we've been on the ground, providing children food, educational resources, and basics no child should be without. To learn more, visit SaveTheChildren.org/together. This year, join us and make change for children. Visit SaveTheChildren.org/together. Sponsored by Save the Children.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is Westwood One, your home for Sunday Night Football. Welcome back to Sunday Night Football on Westwood One from the Progressive Insurance Studios. I'm Scott Graham. Looking for a career path with flexibility, great pay, and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. 6-point lead for the Eagles at halftime. Kansas City got to 10-1 today, but it took right to the end for them to get it done.
Placement is down. Schrader's kick is up. Schrader's kick is good! 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 Spencer Schrader on a 31-yard field goal, and the Chiefs walk it off with the field goal, winning 30-27 to get their 10th victory of the 2024 campaign.
Mitch Holtis, 106.5, The Wolf and the Chiefs Radio Network. Kansas City wins in Carolina. Panthers fall to 3-8. Tennessee upset Houston today in Houston, 32-27. Houston falls to 7-5 on the year. It was Denver beating Las Vegas 29-19 today at Allegiant Stadium. Denver 7-5, clearly in the playoff picture in the AFC. And guess what? Miami might be soon too. They scored 24 in the second quarter today to knock off the New England Patriots 34-15. Miami's won 3 in a row. They are now 5-6 on the year. Our halftime score, Philadelphia 13, the LA Rams 7. When we return, Ryan Radke and Kurt Warner have the second half kickoff. You're listening to Sunday Night Football on Westwood One.
Football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown, and he throws a block, and his teammate scores instead. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to gamble responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 years of age and older. This U.S. promotional offer not available in Mississippi, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. For New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. For Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. For Massachusetts, 1-800-327-5050. For Iowa, 1-800-BETS-OFF. For Puerto Rico, 1-800-981-0023. Subject to eligibility requirements, in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus. Check local listings at investigatetv.com. Sponsored by Gray Media.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. Your boxes are wrapped and the gifts are in. Our employees are ready. Let the holiday ride begin. Let's start with the price. It's easy to manage when you ship with the reliable USPS Ground Advantage. In just a few days, it's sure to arrive. We're working non-stop to keep the spirit alive. USPS Ground Advantage, the affordable and reliable shipping solution for the holidays. Visit USPS.com/advantage.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Brian Radke, Kurt Warner back in L.A., where the Eagles lead the Rams 13-7 at halftime with the halftime stats sponsored by Indeed. Looking for quality candidates this year? Look no further than Indeed. Indeed's video interview tool takes the hassle out of virtual hiring. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Eagles outgained the Rams 203-111 in the first half. The Rams had 60 yards on the ground in the first quarter, but they finished the first half with just 70. Jalen Hurts 11-15, 101 yards and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley 13 carries for 73 yards. Matthew Stafford was 7 of 11 for 67 yards. Kyron Williams 9 carries for 55 yards. Receiving-wise, A.J. Brown 4 catches, 69 yards and a touchdown. Puka Nacua had 4 catches and 45 yards to lead the Rams. So the Eagles with a 13-7 lead, they will get the ball to start the second half. They won the opening coin toss and deferred. And so the Eagles have a chance to double up here after some questionable clock management at the end of that first half. Declining to call a timeout after Stafford was sacked on second down. The Rams ran almost 40 more seconds off the clock. And then on 4th down and 7, they run a quarterback draw that gets stuffed and gave the Rams one more snap, although Philly made that a moot point, getting home and sacking Stafford. Matthew Stafford had plenty of time to throw early, but the Eagles really got to him as the half went on. So Ethan Evans will kick it away from right to left. On the approach, here comes an end-over-end kickoff. Headed into the end zone. This one will be taken a couple of yards deep. And Isaiah Rodgers drops down to his left knee. The Eagles will start 1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. Philadelphia winners of 6 straight, coming into play tonight at 8-2. Trying to extend that to a 7-game streak. Tied for the second longest active winning streak in the NFL with Buffalo. Of course, the Lions won again today, so it's 9 straight now for Detroit. But speaking of Detroit, that's who Philly is looking up at in the race for the NFC's #1 seed. Trying to stay just 1 game behind Detroit. The Eagles will start with the ball on the far side left hash. 1st and 10 from the 30. Pistol formation. Barkley is the running back. Receivers left and right. Hurts left foot in front of right, brings Covey in motion from the left. Here's the snap. Hurts turns, hands it off Barkley. Runs along the right hash, up to the 35-40, 45-50, down the right sideline. Barkley to the 30. Saquon Barkley is gone. Touchdown Eagles. On the opening play of the second half, Saquon Barkley bounces outside right and scampers 70 yards. A Philadelphia touchdown. And the Eagles fans in LA celebrate.
Well, I don't mean to be a homer on national radio, but that's not what I wanted to come up after our 25th anniversary and see on the first play. Obviously, we know what Saquon Barkley means to this team. We've seen about one of those a game where he just breaks it for the big play. chunk, 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 and then all of a sudden he finds the crease. Man, what an addition he's been to this Eagles team.
Here's the extra point from Jake Elliott. It is up and good, and just like that, Philadelphia has taken a 20-7 lead. Saquon Barkley, 14 carries, 143 yards and a touchdown. His 9th rushing touchdown of the season. Kurt, this year he has averaged almost 74 yards per game on the ground in the second half and overtime. 70 right there on his first touch of the second half.
Well, I said earlier, he's making a case to be the MVP. We know it's pretty much a quarterback award anymore, but man, he has been so impressive, and it's big plays like that. You give him a crease, and he's got to beat one guy. He puts that left foot in the ground and goes inside to outside, and then it's all about speed from there. But man, he's making a major case through about 2.5 quarters of the season.
Well, Barkley was asked about that earlier in the week and just kind of shrugged it off. Said, look, I'm not worried about that. I'm trying to get to and win a Super Bowl. But boy, it's hard to argue the impact he has had on this team has been remarkable.
Well, you want to win a Super Bowl. We know that's what it's all about, but it's not bad to take home a few awards along the way. I mean, it's you can do more than one.
Braden Mann with the end-over-end kick headed toward the back of the end zone. Xavier Smith has it, steps over the back line, and the ball will come out to the 30. Ryan Radke, Kurt Warner here with the Grainger broadcast booth in Los Angeles. Huddle up with Grainger to get more done. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. Call Grainger.com or stop by one of over 250 branch locations. Well, Kurt, when you guys won the Super Bowl, you won the MVP. Marshall Faulk was right there behind you in the voting. What was that like coming down the stretch? Was there chatter about that amongst the guys?
Well, we were very much not thinking about that. You know, that wasn't really on my radar at that point. I was just happy to be playing, and of course we were looking for the Super Bowl championship.
There's a handoff to Kyren Williams. He lost the ball. Williams lost it. I think the Rams got on it at the 40-yard line. That's the second time Kyren Williams has put it on the turf, and the Rams do recover. Steve Avila, the left guard, was able to jump on it after that ball got punched out. I think it was Jalen Carter that knocked it away from Williams, but the Rams maintain possession. Just shy of the 40-yard line, it'll be 2nd and 1.
And going back to your question, I think the crazy thing about that season was I became the second quarterback in NFL history to throw for 40 touchdowns. So you got kind of an historic moment. Marshall became the second running back to go 1,000 that year. So could have very easily gone to either one of us.
Stafford with a handoff to Williams up the middle between the hash marks. And Kyren Williams plows across the 45 to the 46. Nakobe Dean with the tackle. Gain of about 6.5 yards and a first down.
Well, let's reminisce a little bit, because if we go back to Rams Park, one of my favorite posters that they had up on the wall was a poster that had a picture of me, and then a picture of Marshall, then that same picture of me, and said back to back to back. In those 3 seasons where we were going as the greatest show on turf, we went 3 straight seasons winning the MVP, and it really kind of spoke to what our team was all about.
First down and 10 from the 46-yard line. 2 receivers left, 1 right. Stafford takes the snap, back on a play fix, sets his feet, has time, throws right side, and it's caught by Nakua. A diving catch inside the Eagles' 40. There's a penalty flag down as well. Slay was in coverage. Boy, Nakua kind of stumbling down, but hauled that one in, sliding out of bounds at the 38. We'll see about the marker.
Pass interference. Defense, number 2. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is the first down.
16-yard pickup for the Rams.
Yeah, the motion across again to try to get soft coverage. Then he runs the deep corner route. Little contact there at the top. Clicked feet, and that's why Puka Nakua goes to the ground. But we've seen so many of these catches from him. Contact catches, fully extended. Great job squeezing that football with no movement as he goes to the ground.
First down 10 from the 38. Stafford under center. Takes the snap. Play action fake. Rolls right. Throws short. Caught by the tight end Parkinson. Turns it up along the sideline. Lowers his shoulder and picks up a first down. Takes that one inside the 28 to the 27. Slay made the tackle. He's slow to get up again. It'll be a gain of 11 and a Rams first down. And now Slay is not getting up. He's staying in a seated position. Well, remember, he took a shot early in the game in a collision with his own teammate Reed Blankenship, briefly left the game, came back in, and this time a collision with Colby Parkinson on the far side has left Slay in a seated position. Boy, that ended up being helmet-to-helmet contact, Kurt.
Yeah, it did. He bounced up right away, and you thought, oh, he's okay. But then, as you said, just kind of sitting there, looking around. Hope it's nothing to do with the head. Hope he can bounce up here in a second.
We'll step aside with 12:45 to go in the third. Eagles on top 20-7. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League. All season long, you can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by Pfizer. Hey, football fans, ready for RSV season? Check eligibility and schedule an RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Well, Darius Slay walked off under his own power, but immediately went into the blue tents. So he is getting checked out. Isaiah Rodgers checks in to take his place. Rams have it at the Eagles 28, first down and 10. Stafford under center, two receivers left, one right. Kyron Williams is the single back. 20-7, Eagles on top. Stafford handoff Williams, hit in the backfield, wrapped up, and he'll go down back outside the 35. Brandon Graham, who had a sack in the first half, gets the tackle for loss there. They'll mark him down at the 34. It'll go as a loss of 6.
We almost feel this game is going to come down to those big, kind of game-changing, tackle for a loss type plays. You mentioned the sack in the first half. Here's another one, being able to work the left tackle and then meet Kyron Williams in the backfield. Just a great play, and now you put him behind the sticks, second and really long.
Second down, 16. Nakua goes in motion from right to left. Stafford under center. Two receivers left, one right. Stafford gets the snap. Play action fake. Sets his feet. Rush coming again. Stafford hit as he throws. Incomplete. And it was Brandon Graham again. The Eagles pick up the ball. Reed Blankenship is running the other way, but they're going to blow this one dead. That was an incomplete pass. But Graham again coming from Stafford's backside helped jar that ball away. Man, Brandon Graham in year 15 is having a turn back the clock kind of night.
Man, he got there in a hurry. And we mentioned Bryce Huff went on IR yesterday. Man, I don't know about this. This is going to be really, really close as he hit the football. It does look like maybe Matthew Stafford had a grip on the football till he was just coming forward. But, man, that was really, really close. But I was mentioning Bryce Huff goes on IR. You need some other guys to step up on the edge. Brandon Graham is doing that tonight.
Slot right, single man left. Third and 16. Stafford in the gun, gets the snap. Back to pass. Stafford looking, loads up, going deep. Nakua in the end zone. Can't make the play. Flag is down. All kinds of contact. Nakua could not make the catch, but it'll be a pass interference, and the Rams are going to have first and goal. That's Isaiah Rodgers in for Slay.
Defense, number 24. First down for Provincetown.
Man, it is so tough to play defense in this league. But a perfect throw by Matthew Stafford. A little quarters coverage. Got the safety to jump the corner out on the outside, leaving the post open over the top. And the ball's perfect. Man, that is a tough call.
Boy, there was not a lot of contact.
I mean, there's definitely contact, but it's really incidental. He's just running stride for stride with Puka Nacua.
It looked like watching it live, there was more contact than there actually was. So move it down to the 3. It'll be first and goal. Stafford under center, 2 receivers left, 1 right. Here's the snap, handoff. Williams plowing between the hash marks, covers up the football, driving his legs down to the 2, and he is shoved backward. Gain of 1, it'll be second down and goal. Williams had a touchdown run earlier. 9 rushing touchdowns on the season. All 9 of the Rams rushing touchdowns as Darius Slay is now being taken up the tunnel back to the locker room.
Not a good sign. Veteran defensive back. They've been doing a great job back there, him and Quinyon Mitchell. It's a big loss for the Eagles, and obviously it turns into a big setup here for the Rams inside the 5.
Second down and goal. Stafford under center, brings Nacua in motion from the right. Stafford back, rolling right, throws to the end zone. Caught, touchdown Rams. DeMarcus Robinson. A 2-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. And with 10:51 to go in the third quarter, the Rams back within 7, down 20-13. And the extra point try coming up to make it a 6-point game.
Just a one-on-one situation with Robinson against Rodgers.